Hello, good morning, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. This is Shyam Kaggod here. I'll be taking up the Hindu news analysis for 27th May 2025. Before I start the discussion, please do let me know in the chat section that I'm audible and visible for all of you. Am I audible and visible for all of you? Done. Thanks a lot. Let's start. So, from the daily edition of Hindu newspaper, I've taken totally 10 articles covering science and technology, polity, Indian economy, international relations, etc. This has been made comprehensive so as to address all of your current affairs requirements for you to ace the civil services examination. If you like this initiative, do not forget to hit the like button. And if you yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Before I start, as usual, anybody wants to download the PPT that I'm using in today's session, you can join my Telegram channel and download this particular PPT. This is the QR code for that. And second, very important point, those who are preparing for the civil services examination 26 and 27, you need to follow 5 simple principles. Have a very simple strategy. One, you need to have an exhaustive coverage of your static portion. Second, you need to update with current affairs. Third, you need to have a very good prelims test series. Fourth, mains test series. And fifth, to consolidate all your preparation, you need to have very good reading material. All of this is available when you purchase our courses, which is priced at 19,999. And if you use the code IAS English, you will also get an extension of 12 months free of cost. Those who are interested, do check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. Let me start. The first article from the editorial page. Very recently, the Niti Ayog's governing council meeting was conducted. Correct? It was covered in detail by Chetan sir when there was an article in the Hindu newspaper in the earlier edition. But in today's Hindu newspaper, the editorial page, there is a discussion which has been provided associated with the relationship between the central government as well as the state government. During the governing council meeting of Niti Ayog, the prime minister basically asked the states to come together, work with the central government so that the cooperative federalism can be achieved. But more importantly, India as a nation can experience better growth as well as development. We can ensure better growth and development when we work together. That was the message that was provided by the Prime Minister during the 10th Niti Ayog's Governing Council meeting. But the Hindu newspaper editorial simply says, on one side, the government of India wants the states to work together, work with the center to achieve growth and development. But in recent times, what has been happening? It is going to achieve anything but growth and development. That is the events that have taken place in the recent times, which are basically providing a clear picture regarding the fractions or the, let's say, the fissures between or the frictions between the center and state. These are not conducive. These are not going to promote growth and development in India. These are going to have a negative impact. And that is the precise reason. When the government talks about promoting growth and development, working with the states, and when the states are allowed to speak at national forums, for example, at the level of GST Council, at the level of the Governing Council of Niti Ayog, most of the times the talk is about the states airing out, the states basically complaining to the center regarding one or the other issue. For example, in the recent Governing Council meeting, one of the chief ministers aired the grievance, complained to the central government, essentially talking about water sharing issue. Another chief minister talked about funds not being provided for the implementation of certain schemes, etc. So, argument of the editorial here is, if the government of India wants the states to work with the center, which is good for Indian economy, Indian people, etc., there should be certain policy shift or the policy changes which are introduced by the central government of India itself. And in that regard, let me give you one example. There is a council, I've mentioned this couple of minutes ago, GST Council. What is the role of the GST Council? The GST Council should come together and take decisions regarding the implementation, changes, etc., associated with the goods and services taxes. That is the indirect tax which has been implemented from 2017 in India. According to the constitutional provision, mind you, GST Council is a constitutional body. It has been set up under Article 279A of Indian Constitution. So, according to the provisions in the Constitution, specifically Article 279A and subsection 8, the GST Council is supposed to meet once every quarter. It is supposed to meet once every quarter. And since the setting up or the establishment of the GST Council, so far 55 GST Council meetings have taken place. And the last, that is the 55th GST Council meeting, was conducted in December 2024. It was conducted in December 2024. Now you simply do the calculation. Do the simple CSAT calculation. December 2024, and we are in the fag end of May 2025, which means it's been more than 5 months since the last GST Council meeting was held. So don't you think the government of India, because mind you, the GST Council will have a composition where you will have representation from the center, you will have representation from the states, and you will also have a representations from union territories with legislatures. So when the composition is having representation from these stakeholders, who is the chairperson? The chairperson is the finance minister. And it is this particular chairperson which will convene, or the central government which will convene the GST Council meetings. So the argument which has been put forward here is that the center should provide these kind of, let's say, the meetings or conduct these kind of meetings on a regular basis, so that the states will not use a national forum such as a governing council to basically vent out anger, raise certain issues, complain to the central government. There are different forums which are available. Let them discuss in those particular forums, not directly in the Niti Ayog's governing council meeting. Because when the governing council meeting is conducted, the whole idea is positive feedback should be provided, measures should be recommended for the central government to implement something. I'll just give you one example. During the 10th governing council meeting that was conducted recently in Niti Ayog, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu, the chief minister, Chandrababu Naidu basically proposed three types of bodies, that is the committees which should be set up in order to address different issues that the India is facing or to promote growth and development. For example, there was one subcommittee that was recommended to be set up, again having states as representatives, one subcommittee to promote growth. We need to promote growth. Another subcommittee which will basically focus on the population issues in India. Another subcommittee, again having representation of the states, in order to promote the governance using technology. Promotion of governance through IT, that is technology. So the argument is these kind of recommendations should be put forward. Center and states must work together in order to achieve better growth and development. But this is not this is not happening. It is not the outcome of these kind of meetings because of other policies of the government of India. I'll just give you one more example. The concept of GST was implemented. Listen to me carefully. The concept of GST, goods and services tax, was implemented. And when this was implemented, many of the indirect taxes which were earlier under the power of the state government, which were imposed and collected by the state governments, these indirect taxes were now subsumed under the GST. And again, just to provide a clear picture here, same was done for the central government indirect taxes as well. Many of the central government indirect taxes such as service tax were subsumed under GST. But when the GST as a model was supposed to be implemented, many of the states were concerned about the revenue protection. Their argument was, if you subsume, take away these indirect taxation power from me, put it under GST, and the GST council will decide everything, I may not be earning sufficient amount of revenues. In that case, who will provide me compensation? And that's the reason the central government provided GST compensation for a period of 5 years. It was announced for a period of 5 years. But listen to me very carefully. The GST was implemented in 2017 plus 5 years, essentially 2022, correct? So after June 2022, central government stopped providing GST compensation to the states, even if the states generated lesser amount of revenues under GST. And the logic behind fixing the 5-year duration for compensation was that in the duration of 5 years, the states will implement many policies. The states will implement multiple reforms which will help the state government to increase the taxes, increase their own revenues. Because of the pandemic, because of the many other issues, the states have not been able to do that satisfactorily. And that is the precise reason the states have been demanding that the center should extend the compensation period, for which the central government has not at all accepted this recommendation. So another issue that was raised or that has been raised in this article is, if you implemented GST, asked the states to be part of the GST, promised that you will give compensation for 5 years, and promised that in that particular duration the revenues or the tax receipts earned by the states would be higher, and if that is not the case in the current situation, why don't you provide relief to the states? Why don't you provide the relief to the states? Right? So these are certain issues which have been raised in this article, where the article basically argues in favor of measures or different policies or certain steps which should be taken by the central government in order to improve the cooperation and the coordination between both of them, so that India as a whole can achieve growth as well as the development in the coming years. So these are certain points. Please make a note of this. Associated with this, I've given an MCQ. Try it out. If you do not know the answer, please don't worry. I will give you the key answer at the end of the session. And I was just looking at the chat section. One of the student asked, "Sir, will you address our questions?" My dear, let me finish the articles at the end of the session. Whatever questions you have, I'll ask you, raise it, I will address it. Consider the following statements. The Constitution has provision requiring the GST Council to meet once every quarter. The GST Council has a representation from all the union territories. Right? Which of the two statements are correct? Do let me know. Next article, anemia and pregnancy. Listen to me carefully. In case of India, every now and then there is a discussion regarding marriage, concept of marriage. Now, in the context of marriage, what the government of India has done, it has basically introduced a law which is defining what is the legal age for marriages. What is the legal age for marriages? 18 years and 21 years. But on the other hand, one more issue, in addition to the marriage in case of India, is the issue of pregnancy. Issue of pregnancy. Why? There have been multiple instances where the children who are born, or after the birth of the child, when you weigh them, they are supposed to be of certain weight. Many children who are born are preterm, that is essentially before the end of 9 months itself the child is born. Even when the child is born after completion of 9 months of pregnancy, the child doesn't have the correct weight. Child suffers from various issues, various diseases, etc. Now, what is the issue here? Why these kind of things keep on happening? In addition to the issue of, let's say, the childbirth, etc., there is one more very important aspect of the whole process of pregnancy here. That is, in many cases, you must have seen or you must have heard of it. During the childbirth, the mother basically loses lot of blood. There is seizures, there are cardiac arrest, etc. As a result of this, there are multiple deaths in multiple villages, right, which are recorded every now and then. So the article basically focuses on the concept of childbirth and pregnancy connected to concept of anemia. Now, what is anemia? Anemia essentially talks about a situation where the blood is not able to sufficiently carry oxygen. Simple. It is not able to carry oxygen, deliver oxygen to different parts of the body. As a result of this, multiple types of outcomes such as dizziness, weakness, right, or for that matter, fatigue, etc., are the symptoms. And this happens, listen to me carefully, and this happens because there is a absence or lesser presence of certain vitamins. For that matter, let's say vitamin B12 or vitamin B9, which is also referred as a folic acid, or even iron deficiency. Iron or iron, however you want to pronounce it, doesn't matter. Right, so whenever there is a deficiency of B12, B9, or right, let's say iron deficiency, there is an impact on, let's say, formation of DNA in the red blood cells, because the RBC, red blood cells, essentially carry oxygen. There is either issue with the structure of RBC, there is issue with the formation of DNA within RBC, or hemoglobin, which is one of the very important components in RBC, there is a lesser presence of hemoglobin. And this essentially will lead to anemia. It will lead to anemia in the people. And whenever the children, especially the girl children or women, are anemic, it will have a direct impact on the situation when they are in pregnancy. The child might be underweight, the child might have certain symptoms, it also might be anemic, or during pregnancy or during the childbirth, the woman might simply feel, right, let's say seizures, higher loss of blood, etc., can happen because of right, anemia. So what is the solution then? And by the way, please listen to me carefully. Although you might be reading this article, hearing about this idea right now, discussion regarding anemia, reforms regarding anemia is not new in India. It's been more than 2 decades since Government of India has been implementing multiple reforms to address the issue, eradicate anemia. For example, listen to me now. There is a program which has been implemented by Government of India. Right, one program, focus on this. This is a very comprehensive program. Anemia Mukt Bharat. Anemia Mukt Bharat, which was launched in the last decade by Government of India, and this follows a strategy called as a 6 by 6 by 6 or 6 into 6 into 6 strategy. What is this 6 by 6 by 6 strategy? Essentially, it focuses on 3 very important aspects. There are 6 beneficiaries, there are 6 interventions, and there are also 6 institutional mechanisms. And by following this concept of a 6 by 6 by 6 strategy, the Government of India, through this, wants to ensure India will be anemia mukt. And that is the reason this initiative is also referred to as or named as Anemia Mukt Bharat, was implemented post 2018 following this kind of a strategy. Done? Now, what are the other important points mentioned here? What are the important points? Now you know what is anemia, what are the symptoms of anemia, and what will happen if there is anemia. But what are the other important aspects or the points which are mentioned in the article here? The article basically talks about what kind of measures have been taken by the government. For example, the government essentially provides the iron folic acid tablets. I'm pretty sure you must have heard of this. Iron folic, right? Folic acid tablets. These are provided for people, right? That is school children or for that matter women for consumption, so that iron deficiency, if it is there, you will supply iron. If folic acid deficiency is there, you will also be able to consume this tablet and meet the requirements of folic acid. But the writer simply says there are many women who do not consume, who do not prefer the consumption of these kinds of tablets. Why? When they take these tablets, they feel right vomiting sensation. They basically right are constipated. They right face issue of right loose motions, etc. And when women after consuming or taking these tablets, they feel these kind of outcomes, they rather stop taking the tablets rather than continue to take the tablets. So issue on one side is, one, there are women in India who are anemic, and right when they go through the pregnancy, when they right basically go through the process of childbirth, there are multiple complications, there are deaths also. You want them to take tablets, but because of these kind of issues, they do not consume the tablets. So what is the solution? Overall, what is the solution then? Point number one, this is the way forward. Please remember this. Point number one, instead of providing tablet form, instead of providing all of this in the form of tablets, why don't we simply provide them in the injection form? IV, injection form. Right? That is one recommendation that has been provided by the writer here. Second recommendation, you need to have a change in the society. Because mind you, many of the times when women face weakness, generally in the household, the argument will be, because you are working, you are doing physical work, you will feel weakness. Don't worry. Right? Have food, right? Sleep, you will recover. But what if that is a symptom of anemia in the woman? Right? Lot of times it is ignored. So what you should do is basically change the approach in the society. How can we change the approach? One way, the family should be supportive. The family should be supportive. If women are continuously showing these symptoms, why not basically have a health checkup? Why not basically ask them to take up the health checkup? Right? That is generally not one of the features of Indian households. And the third one is, whenever, right, let's say there is a family planning being done, whenever couple are planning to have babies or let's say children, why not go for health checkup even before, right, you decide to have children? Go for a health checkup. Check for whether the let's say the woman is facing any symptoms associated with, let's say, anemia. Is the hemoglobin content right is appropriate or not? Is the presence of right folic acid, is there any deficiency of these kind of, let's say vitamins, etc.? Go for a health checkup, and after that start planning for babies. So these are some of the recommendations that have been provided by the writer in order to address the issue of anemia before pregnancy. Done. So these are certain points. Please make a note of this. Now associated with this, I've given one MCQ. MCQ on schemes is generally asked in the preliminary examination. I'm pretty sure very recently conducted civil services examination for 2025. I'm pretty sure you must have seen there were two questions on schemes. Having said so, compared to last year, the number of questions on the schemes this year are much lower, but guaranteed there are questions on schemes. So there is a statement, three statements here. Consider the following statements regarding Anemia Mukt Bharat program. The nodal authority is the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Lot of you will feel this is correct, by the way. It follows 6 by 6 by 6 strategy. It covers only the girl children below the age of 10 years and women in the age group of 15 to 49 years. Let me solve this right now itself, because the picture is important for me to solve the question. The nodal authority is Ministry of Women and Child Development. Wrong. This is incorrect. It is incorrect. Why? Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Remember this. A lot of you, because the ministry is a Women and Child Development, you will feel yes. Right? It makes sense, right? The children are being covered here. Women are being covered here. You will simply say common sense statement. A is correct. No, this is incorrect. Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Second, straightforward, it follows a 6 by 6 by 6 strategy. Yes. It covers only girl children below the age of 10 years and women in the age group of 15 to 49 years. Right? Underline the term only girl children and women. This statement is incorrect. This statement is incorrect. Why so? Or how so? There are 6 categories of beneficiaries covered under the initiative. 6 categories. or under the initiative, the coverage has been divided into 6 groups. One, children below the age of 5 years. Children below the age of 5 years. Children, right, above the age of 5 years and below 9 years. Adolescents, that is 10 years to 19 years. Adolescents in the age group of 10 to 19 years. Women who are of reproductive age or reproductive age in the age group of 15 to 49 years. The pregnant women as well as the lactating women. All these are the beneficiaries who are covered under this. Boys and girls are also covered. Please be very, very careful. Okay. So let me go forward. According to this particular question, third statement is incorrect. Second one is correct. The right option for the question number 112 is option A. Let me go forward. One more article associated with the healthcare. Healthcare economy overlapping like this. In the last couple of months, there has been a lot of discussion regarding heat stress. Right? That is, you must have heard of this. During summer, there are multiple events or in multiple regions or areas. There were severe cases of people dehydrating or going through dehydration, getting admitted in the hospital, facing the issues of heat stress. Now, listen to me carefully. Whenever there is these kind of weather events, right? I hope you understand this. Whenever this kind of an extreme weather event is present or is experienced by the society, there is one statement which I found it to be very interesting and very fascinating. These kind of extreme weather events are, listen to me now, social injustice multiplier. Social injustice multiplier. Is the point clear to all of you? Now, what is the meaning of social justice, injustice multiplier? I'll just give you one example. Lot of people in India will be residing, let's say, in certain regions where, right, let's say there is very high temperature. In the same city, you will see certain people, even though it is very hot, will be sitting Aarambh say in the AC rooms, will be right enjoying their lunch, will be watching IPL matches, etc. At the same point of time, in the same city, you will also see people who are working on roads. People, right, rag pickers during the summer, they will be doing their work. Construction workers, labor, they'll be working in right heavy, high amount of heat. The vegetable vendors, they will also be working. Now, is this kind of event observed or this kind of a, let's say, difference observed only during the summer? No. What happens during the winter? Right? Don't you think this kind of, right, let's say, outcome where certain population is insulated, is protected from these events, they will continue to be protected, whether it is, right, let's say, winter, whether it is a rainfall, or whether it is a summer. And at the same point of time, the population which suffers during the summer is the same population which will suffer during the winter also. It is the same population which will suffer during heavy rainfall as well. So there is right a divide in the society, and whenever there is an extreme event, heavy rainfall, right, let's say tornadoes, etc., extreme weather events, this kind of a, right, let's say, division will continue to persist, and that will actually widen because of these events. For example, I'll just give you one example to make you understand, because like I told you earlier, this is a very, very fascinating statement, right? A lot of times, if this statement is given in the mains examination, a lot of you will keep on thinking as to what is the meaning of the statement actually is. Let's imagine there are two houses. One where there is a stable source of income. Second one, the house has, let's say, 6 people, 7 people, only one person is working, and that person is working, let's say, in agriculture, or let's say in construction sector, or a vegetable vendor, etc. Now imagine during heat stress, or let's say during extreme weather events, if this person will fall ill because the person or this household is very poor, don't you think they will not have coverage to insurance? Lot of expenditure will be out of the pocket expenditure. So expenditure on one side is increasing, and on the other side, the source of income, the person who was earning the livelihood, is bedridden now. So don't you think that will further push the household into more poverty? Right? More problems will be faced by the household. So already there is a injustice. Already there is a divide. These kind of weather events will further deepen the injustice that is present. So this is one statement that has been used. Be very careful. Now coming to the point here, there should be focus on heat resilience. Argument which has been put forward by these two writers is, right now whenever there is a discussion regarding heat resilience in India, or let's say how to overcome the, right, let's say the wave of heat, most of the times we are reactive in nature. Listen to me carefully. Most of the times we are reactive in nature. That is, let's say the temperatures will start rising upwards, summer will hit us, and then we will start thinking, how do I, right, protect myself? How do I basically ensure I will basically go through the summer without being affected? We are reactive in nature. The writers basically argue that we should be proactive. Understand this. We should be proactive and we should be preventive. Now you'll ask me, sir, what do you mean by proactive and preventive here? Rather than being reactive, the writers say become proactive and focus on preventive measures. In simple words, prevention is better than cure. That is what is being argued in the article. So how can we do that? Simple recommendations. Listen to me carefully. First one, focus on rural level. Focus at the rural level. How so? At the rural level, we have, right, let's say primary healthcare centers, PHCs, primary healthcare centers. Why don't we develop a system where the primary healthcare centers will ensure all the people who need certain services, certain access to medication, or let's say bedridden senior citizens are there. During summer, they will not be facing all of these issues. All of this will be taken care through primary healthcare centers. That is one method. Second method is, at the rural level, there are ASHA co-workers, accredited social health activist. In the last 1.5 months, lot of discussion is happening regarding ASHA co-workers. Be careful. So there are accredited social healthcare activists, ASHA workers. Why don't we provide the training to ASHA workers and ensure that the ASHA workers will be getting access to, let's say, the regular updates regarding changing weather patterns? Because there is, right, I hope you understand this, ASHA workers are tightly embedded into the rural society. They have very close connections with the people residing in the rural society. So rather than IMD providing an update and the newspapers giving an update, or let's say in the news channels the update being provided, weather report being provided, which a lot of people will not give importance to, lot of people will not focus on that, and even a lot of times when such information is provided, there is a lot of delay. So why don't we develop a system where these regular updates regarding the weather changes is provided to ASHA workers? And these ASHA workers generally have lot of WhatsApp groups. They can simply provide this information, relay the information to the people residing in the villages in a much better way, in a much faster way. Right? So that is one. At the rural level, you can develop these kind of policies or measures can be taken in order to become proactive and preventive rather than becoming, right, let's say, reactive. Second, at the urban level, for example, at the urban level, there are, right, multiple departments, multiple ministries who are implementing policies. There are, right, let's say hospitals which are being developed in urban regions, parks which are being developed, housing which is developed. So we should have interdisciplinary. Have a look at this. We should have interdisciplinary approach. What do you mean by interdisciplinary approach? Why not bring all these important ministries, or let's say departments, or for that matter, authorities working at the district level? Why not develop a plan, simply implement the plan to mitigate the, right, let's say heat waves or impact of extreme weather events? I'll just give you one example. During, right, let's say temperatures when they are soaring during that time period, there is there is always a issue of water availability. There is always an issue of the shaded region where people can rest, right? Let's say hawkers or vendors can take rest there. Or, right, let's say the hospitals at the district level which do not have sufficient beds, etc. So why not have an interdisciplinary approach in order to ensure that even at urban Indian level, whenever there is, right, let's say the heat level or heat stress affecting the population, you already have infrastructure to address, right, the issues. So these are some of the recommendations which have been provided, which basically argue that India should become more proactive in addressing the issue of let's say the heat stress outcomes rather than being reactive. And in the earlier segments also, or in the earlier videos also, I have discussed what is the social impact of extreme weather events, right? What is the economic impact, right? How it will not only lead to loss of human lives, it will also have an economic impact, etc. Done. So these are certain points. I've given a question for you to practice a descriptive answer writing. For India's health system to address the challenges of a warming world, it must evolve from reactive care to proactive and preventive action, and must also be interdisciplinary. Elaborate. 15 marker question, 250 words. This is my advice. All of you who are preparing, right, let's say for 26, this is my advice to you. Like a committee recommendation to the government. Please practice mains answer writing. Every day, whoever is taking the Hindu news analysis, be it me, Chetan sir or Sarmat sir, Mukesh sir and even Abhishek sir for that matter, we keep on giving you one question for you to practice answer writing. Please take it up. At least one is given, please take it up. Write an answer. Write an answer. Trust me, reason being, answer writing will be the toughest part for you in the whole journey of UPSC examination. Okay, so I've given one question here. And second question, the extreme weather events are a social injustice multiplier, right? Social injustice multiplier. Elaborate the statement, 10 marker, 150 words. Okay. Next one. Asha Rani says, check कौन करेगा कि हमने सही किया या गलत? My dear, write it, post it in the comment section. Peer review. Somebody, right, who is your competitor, who is your friend, right, they'll basically come and saying that you should have made incorrect statement here. You should have formed the statement this way. Your structuring is wrong, etc., etc. Okay, let me go forward. In Bangladesh, there is a very interesting development that is happening. Army versus interim government. Bangladesh army at odds with the government on Myanmar corridor. Now, what is happening here? Interesting. Listen to me carefully. This is Myanmar, which is under military junta now or junta, and this is Bangladesh. And this region, that is a red shaded region, is called as Rakhine or Rakhine state. This particular region has a lot of Muslim population, right? A type of Muslim population is present. And this region, the orange color, right, the region, it is part of Bangladesh. Now, what has happened? Why there is, right, let's say difference of opinion regarding this, right, in the Bangladesh military and the interim government? Listen to me carefully. Back in the year 2021, the military junta or military, right, let's say rule was imposed in Myanmar. Against a democratically elected government, there was, right, a military imposition. And after that, the Chinese government, as usual, the Chinese government started, right, interfering here or developing better relations with military rule or military leadership in Myanmar. In simple terms, the influence of China in this region, right, overall in Myanmar started increasing. At the same point of time, USA, which is not there in this particular map because it is on the other side, USA wanted to reduce the influence of China in this region of Asia. So what USA did was, back in the year 2022, the US Congress passed a law called as Burma Act. And under the provisions of the Burma Act, now USA started supporting the presence of, right, let's say, or the demand of the people in Myanmar or the parties in Myanmar for democratically elected governments being present. So there are two powers. Essentially, one supporting the military power which is already there in place in Myanmar. USA wants to reduce the presence of China here, wants to reduce the influence of China, and basically said The people of Myanmar want democracy, establishment of democratic elected government. We support the claim of the people. Hence, whatever is required, we will provide the assistance to them. These are the two sides. At the same point of time, there was a lot of displacement, right? Operation committed against Muslims which are residing in this particular region. And as a result of this, right, according to various estimates, more than 1 million population of Muslims, as a result of this, this population has started entering into Bangladesh. Some of them have entered into India, some of them have gone to Pakistan, etc. But what is the connection to this story? Because there was operation against them, the crimes committed, displacement took place, United Nations wanted to provide support, aid in simple terms. The United Nations wanted to provide aid or support to this particular population. Now it is alleged that USA, with the passage of the Burma Act, along with the United Nations or the support of the United Nations, proposed a Rakhine corridor or a Myanmar corridor. Is the point clear so far? They proposed a Rakhine corridor or a Myanmar corridor. What is essentially a corridor here? Corridor refers to a safe passage. It refers to a safe passage. So, with the support of Bangladesh government, the United Nations wants to provide support or aid to the population which is suffering in this region. The Rohingya Muslims. As Rakesh Gowda says, sir, Rohingyas. Okay, I'll use the same term, Rohingya Muslims. So, the United Nations wanted to provide the aid. So far, so good. Now come to Bangladesh. Why there is a disagreement? Simple. In 2024, after the protest erupted, right, the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina fled Bangladesh. Correct? This is nothing new to you. You must have heard of this. Sheikh Hasina fled and right, she is there in India. After the, right, let's say the fall of the government there, interim government was set up. And during this particular, let's say, policy making of interim government, it is said that the interim government agreed with the United Nations to have Myanmar corridor. They agreed that let's establish Myanmar corridor and let's provide the aid or support to the Rohingya Muslims who are suffering. Now it is said when this was announced, and in fact this was announced by the government representative in Bangladesh. When this was announced, the military leadership did not want this. They rejected this idea. Reason being, I hope you understand, historically, if you look at, right, let's say the country Bangladesh, after 1971, there has been a different evolution that has happened in terms of military in Bangladesh. Although, right, various points of time, just like in Pakistan, where there is intertwining between the military as well as the government, sometimes it has happened in Bangladesh, but most of the times, military has kept itself away from the political matters. In fact, the representative or the spokesperson of the military, right, let's say chief or the army chief there, clarified that the military doesn't have any interest in having government or forming the government or overthrowing the government. It is not at all interested in all of these things. What they are worried is intervention of foreign powers in Bangladesh. Simple. Point number one, they are worried about the intervention of foreign powers in Bangladesh. Why so? Like I told you earlier in story, China is already having significant influence in Myanmar now. USA wants to reduce the influence, and through United Nations, it has basically proposed this model of Myanmar corridor. So the army chief, who couple of days ago gave a speech, which led to a lot of, let's say, discussion also, he was very categorical. One, right now the government is interim government. It is an interim government. Whatever policies they are making, it is not equivalent to democratically elected government. So the interim government should not be making such policies. Point number two, when are the elections going to be held? Because when the interim government was formed, argument was elections will be announced, there will be a democratically formed government, And this democratically formed government, which represents the will of the population, will of the people, will be formulating the policy, implementing the policy. Right now, that is not happening. It's been more than 8 or 9 months since the interim government has been formed. There are no announcements or any indication of announcement regarding elections being held. Only one statement is generally provided. By the end of 2024, elections will be held. But when? And not just this, there are multiple other political parties which are still present in Bangladesh. No doubt, the interim government has abolished, right, has basically banned, right, the one political party, but other political parties are present, such as BNP. They are also protesting. They also want the conduct of elections. That is one more important concern. And the next one, I hope you understand, the next issue that has been raised by the army here is, when these kind of policies are formed, which will lead to interference of the other countries, Western interference or China's interference, we do not want these policies. We do not want these kind of policies to be implemented by an interim government. Right? And one more grievance that was raised by the army chief, not now, but earlier, couple of days ago. In his speech, he said, a lot of times, certain developments are reported. For example, United Nations provides a certain input to the government. The interim government is not providing this input to us. We are not being informed about it. We are generally kept away. No information is being provided. And that's the reason the argument of the military now is, we should be consulted. We should be talked to. We should be provided information regarding the policies of the government. So these are certain important points which have right, basically thrown open the fissures, or the, right, let's say, the frictions between the interim government as well as the army in Bangladesh. Okay, let me go forward. Somebody was asking, anybody explain what is Myanmar corridor, length, breadth, etc. My dear, when you think of corridor, do not imagine corridor here will be like, let's say, a road. You can measure length, you can measure width, etc. Region. This particular region is being referred to as a Myanmar corridor. It is essentially a region where Rohingya Muslims are present. Right? These are present in refugee camps, etc. Right? For example, the Cox Bazar, it is generally, right, or it is having a lot of Rohingya Muslim, let's say, refugee present here. So this particular region is being called as Myanmar corridor. Okay, let me go forward. Reforms which have led to reducing of land wastages. Now listen to me carefully. Back in the year 2020, Government of India announced an initiative, a policy. Right? This particular policy was named as the Scheme for Special Assistance to States for Capital Investment. Very lengthy name, don't worry. Simply remember, Scheme for Promotion of Capital Expenditure for the States. What is the objective of the central government? Mind you, this was announced in 2020. The government basically said, we need to promote capital expenditure. That is investment in infrastructure, investment in buildings, investments in, right, let's say, construction of the roads, etc. Not by the center, because the center anyways is doing it. They wanted the states to spend this money. They wanted the state governments to spend this money. But the concern was, state governments were worried during pandemic because they were not having sufficient amount of money to spend. So what the central government did was very simple. I will announce a scheme. I will allocate funds for you. You can take these funds, but this will be a loan. Listen to me carefully. This will be a loan. Loan for what duration? This will be a 50-year loan. This will be a 50-year loan. Take it. Repay the loan after 50 years. You do not have to pay any interest on this. Is the point clear so far? Do let me know. You do not have to pay any interest on it. Take a loan, repay the loan, right? And don't pay interest. One more condition was, you will have to use it only for development of infrastructure. That is capital expenditure. You'll have to use this money only for capital expenditure, nothing else. Now listen to me carefully. Initially, when the scheme was launched, the allocation was somewhere around 12,000 crore rupees. The allocation was how much? around 12,000 crore rupees. Over a period of time, the scheme, right, has been restructured in the sense amount of money or the funds which have been allocated have been increased. According to the latest announcement of the government, now 1.5 lakh crore rupees will be allocated under the scheme. And I'm giving you one more update. This was announced in May 2025, by the way. This was announced in the same month, that is in this month only, but not reported in Hindu. Listen to me carefully. This scheme until now was available only for the state governments. Correct? That is also what I've written here. Was available only for the state governments. But in May 2025, the government of India has opened up the scheme even for union territories. Remember this. This has opened up from financial year 26. It has been opened up for the union territories as well. Then this is the story so far regarding the initiative. But the article doesn't only provide the initiative information, it provides the impact of the initiative. What has been the impact? The impact has been observed because of very simple reason. The government said 60% of the funds, 60% of the funds, I will give it to you without any conditions. I will not impose conditions. I will just give it to you. But the remaining 40% of the funds, I will impose a certain conditions. That is, the performance conditions were imposed. What kind of performance condition? The conditions are such as you will have to implement optical fiber installations. You will have to implement urban reforms. You will have to implement projects for road construction. You will have to implement reforms for digitization of land records. You will have to implement policies to promote disinvestment, etc., etc. So everybody is okay. 60%, no conditions. I'll just give you the loan, you develop infrastructure. But remaining 40% of the funds will be conditioned upon your performance. In what areas you are supposed to perform decided by the center. As a result of, I hope you understand, as a result of this kind of a condition which has been imposed by the center, the article now says you are seeing multiple reforms which are being implemented by the state governments, especially under the land segment. Related to land, lot of reforms are being implemented. I'll just give you a couple of examples here. One, the central government has launched an initiative where, just like for individuals, for you and me, we have an identification number, that is Aadhaar. We have Aadhaar number given to us. In the same way, for land pieces, I hope you understand, for the land pieces, the central government has announced an initiative that is essentially called as Unique Land Parcel Identification Number, ULPIN. Unique Land Identification or Unique Land Parcel Identification Number. Many of the states have started implementing ULPIN, and the land pieces have been given alphanumeric 14-digit number. Is it okay? 14-digit alphanumeric number has been provided. What is the use of it? Every piece of land now is connected to a number. Easily you can track who is the owner, how the ownership is getting transferred, where the land piece is present, etc., etc. That is one reform. Second, the factory plots are essentially the bylaws. The bylaws associated with the commercial establishments or factory manufacturing units, the bylaws have been changed. What is the meaning of, let's say the bylaws have been changed? Let me give you one example. I don't know how many of you have observed this. Whenever you need to construct a house like this, there are certain conditions which are imposed. That is, what is the perimeter? Within the perimeter, how much space should be left between the actual wall and the compound wall like this? How much should be the space, between two buildings, etc., etc. All of you have seen this? So generally, these kind of restrictions or regulations are imposed on construction units. Apply the same logic to factories. In case of factories, listen to me carefully, there are laws associated with parking. there are certain provisions which impose restrictions regarding the space for parking and regarding setbacks. Right? What is the meaning of the term setback? How much is the distance between the boundary wall and the manufacturing unit wall, the factory wall and the compound or the boundary wall? That is called as a setback. Earlier, many of the states had a 50% of the area limit. In simple terms, I hope you understand. If you are developing a manufacturing unit, 50% of the land you will have to reserve it for parking purposes and setback purposes. Now, many of the states, because this is mandated, that is, the land reforms have to be implemented, because this is mandated under the initiative, many of the states have reduced this to 30%. Many of the states have reduced this to 30%. And what is the outcome of this? Land which was lying waste, land which was not being utilized, now is being utilized. That is essentially the message that is being given in the article here. The land wastage has been reduced. Many of the land reforms have been implemented. All of this thanks to initiative of the government of India. Everybody is okay? Again, I'll repeat the name of the scheme. Some of you are saying, right, what is the name of the scheme? Write it, write it. It is there here itself. That is the scheme for special assistance to states for capital investment. Okay, this is the name of the scheme. Very small name. If the question is on this particular scheme, write 5 to 6 times the name of the scheme itself. If the question is for 150 words, if you write the name of the scheme 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 into 5, 45. Out of 150 words, your 45 words will be name of the scheme itself. Okay, great. Let me go forward. Important article. Bharat forecast system. And before you tell me, sir, yesterday Chetan sir has discussed, I know. Chetan sir has given certain important points regarding the BFS, Bharat forecast system. I will give you more points. Listen to me carefully. For the first time in India, a new type of a weather forecasting system has been introduced. And why I'm saying for the first time it has been introduced in India, this is a new type of a weather forecasting system. New type. And according to the statements which were given by the government representatives, this kind of a system is the first in the world. This kind of a system is the first in the world. Not only in India, but in the world. Why I'm saying this is the first kind of a system in the world? Right now or until now, the kind of weather forecasting that we used to do, essentially we used to divide the whole globe into areas of 12 kilometers. I hope you understand. We used to divide the globe into, let's say 12 by 12, like this. Again, this should be imagined in 3D. I can't create a 3D structure on a writing board, right? So just imagine. We used to have 12 into 12 kilometer orientation like this. And in other countries such as USA, such as European Union, they have a orientation which is generally in the range of 9 to 14 kilometers. And what is the use of this orientation? Instead of having 12 kilometer orientation, if you have a 6 kilometer orientation like this, again in a 3D structure, if you have a 6 kilometer orientation like this, you can have a detailed analysis of changes in the weather, extreme events which are taking place even at the village level. Is the point clear to all of you? Even if there is an extreme change in the weather that is happening at the village level, now you can estimate it. You can basically provide the information. Weather forecasting can be done, which Government of India says is not being done by any other country in the world. This is the first of its kind system in India and in the world. And the name of this system is Bharat forecasting system. And second important point here, remember, this is developed under Operation Monsoon. Mission Mausam. Mission Mausam. It is being developed, or it has been developed under Mission Mausam, which was announced last year by Government of India. Remember the name of the mission. Point number 2. Point number 3. Compared to the current system, this will be a much better system. This has been developed by IITM, right? IITM Pune, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, right? Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, IITM. Okay, so IITM Pune has developed this kind of a weather forecasting system. Third very important point. Fourth very important point. Fourth very, very important point here, the supercomputers, the names of supercomputers. Right, listen to me carefully. Earlier, until last year, in December also, this was there in the newspaper, December 2024, by the way. The supercomputer that was used in IITM was named as Pratyuksh. Pratyuksh. Remember the name of the supercomputer can be asked in the prelims. So this kind of a supercomputer or high performance computer, HPC also they'll call it. So this kind of a supercomputer was used by IITM. The IITM simply says it was a supercomputer, but when we fed in the data, it used to take longer time period, generally around 10 hours, to basically analyze the data and give us result. That is, right, give us the weather forecast. Now, this Pratyuksh supercomputer has been replaced with another supercomputer, Arka. Arka, last year, there was, right, let's say, function that was conducted. Prime Minister inaugurated the usage or establishment or setting up of these supercomputers. So, Arka supercomputer has replaced Pratyuksh, and it is said because the Arka has a much faster technology, it can process the data much faster. What was done by Pratyuksh in 10 hours is being done by Arka in 4 hours. So the two supercomputers, remember the names of these two supercomputers. One is Arka, like I've written here, and the second one is Arunika. Arka and Arunika are the two supercomputers which are being used. So these are certain important points associated with the Bharat forecast system. Be careful. And if you're wondering, sir, apart from prelims, can we use this data somewhere in the mains? I'll give you certain points here. If you have read, let's say, economic survey, or even if you have read, right, let's say anything regarding food inflation in India, a lot of times we simply say because of changes in the weather, because of the changes in the climate, there is an impact on production of food, there is an impact on the storage of the food as well. The production, the crop which is standing will be destroyed, and post harvest management also becomes a problem. Now, don't you think if you have a system, right, a weather monitoring system, a better weather monitoring system, which will not just give you better updates, faster updates, not only for monsoon but for other weather events as well, don't you think planning can be done in a better way? The harvesting, right, or let's say the sowing, or let's say, right, the warehousing, etc., can be done in a much better way. So that is where you can use all of this information to write a very effective answer. Okay, let me go forward now. Next article, Supreme Court orders a status quo on Bhushan steel issue. Now, what is the issue here? I'll tell you like a story. Please listen to me carefully. Please listen to me carefully. In India, I'm presuming a lot of you are starters, so I'm giving you the basics as well here. In India, let's say there is a company which takes a loan. Let's say there's a company which will take a loan from a bank. And if they're not able to repay the loan, bank will essentially go to one authority by the name of NCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. File a complaint, file an application at NCLT. Now, right, understand this. There will be a committee formed, group of lenders. The technical term is committee of creditors. Okay, so group of lenders will be formed. The committee of creditors will decide whether should we sell the company to one more buyer, or should we simply close the company. And technical term for closure of the company is called as liquidation. Is everybody okay with the simplified version of the process here? It's a very simplified version. Company takes a loan, not able to repay. There is an authority, NCLT. The bank will go file a complaint. Now the lenders will be formed into a group. They will decide whether should we close the company, liquidate, or should we sell the company. Either ways, the objective is very simple. whatever loans have been provided, at least some of it can be recovered. This process is called as insolvency resolution. The process essentially is under the insolvency resolution process, IRP. Technically, it is called as CIRP, corporate insolvency resolution process. So far, so good. This is point number one. Now, come to the point. There was, or there is still, a company called as Bhushan Steels. Bhushan Steel. It has taken loans from multiple banks. Multiple people have given, or multiple lenders have given loans. It has incurred losses. It was not able to repay the loan. It was not able to repay the loan. So what happened? Through a very complicated process and a time consuming process, ultimately, I repeat, ultimately it was decided that it will be sold to one more company called as Jindal Steel. The whole, right, let's say it happened for multiple years. There was a whole process, right? Very, very time consuming. You don't worry about that. So after a lot of, right, let's say discussions, right, let's say deliberations through judiciary, etc., it was decided finally in 2021 it would be sold to JSW. In 2021, JSW completed the acquisition, that is purchased and paid money. In 2025, listen to me, this becomes interesting now. In 2025, the two-judge bench of Supreme Court of India announced that when JSW purchased the other company, that is Bhushan Steel, this acquisition or this purchasing should not be allowed. It has already happened. I hope you understand. 2021, it has already happened. In 2025, the Supreme Court of India, I'll tell you the reasons also, issued an order saying that the acquisition of JSW of Bhushan Steel is invalid. It should not be allowed, it should be cancelled, and the Bhushan Steel must be liquidated. Everybody is okay with the story so far? Right? Now, some of you will be thinking, scratching your head and thinking, sir, why? Why Supreme Court of India is making my life difficult? I was so happy until now. But with all of this, right, very complicated. I'll tell you the reasons. The Supreme Court of India pointed out two very important, right, let's say issues here. Supreme Court said, when the JSW purchased or basically put forward the proposal to purchase the Bhushan Steel and the approval was provided, the JSW waited for 2 years. JSW, after the approval was given, they waited for 2 years. Why did they wait for 2 years to purchase it? And when they purchased it, they were supposed to pay all the amount in the form of money. That is, you purchased the company, pay the full amount in money. What the JSW did was, they paid half of it in form of money, half of it in the form of bonds. The Supreme Court of India said it is not correct. There is no provision which will allow you to pay in the form of money, in the form of bond. It has to be paid completely in the form of money only. That is equity. Right? Equity purchasing should be done 100%, no mixture of equity and debt. That is the reason why Supreme Court of India very recently, it created lot of disturbance. Supreme Court of India announced the purchase or the acquisition is invalid. Bhushan Steel must be liquidated now. Now against this, right, basically one more petition has been filed in the Supreme Court. Supreme Court of India said, right now it will not be liquidated. Let's wait, right? Let's hear something out. The status quo will be maintained. Right? According to the new petition filed, Supreme Court of India now says, right, it will not be liquidated. Let's wait. Let's have the same status quo. We will basically take up the petition now. Done. So these are certain important points associated with JSW, BPSL, etc. Now, if you are thinking, sir, what is the connection of all of this to UPSC? My dear, under banking segment, you will come across insolvency and bankruptcy code. In case of right concept such as non-performing asset, one reform that has been effective to a certain extent, much better compared to earlier system, is the insolvency and bankruptcy code. And now imagine, Right? Just to make you understand the impact of such kind of judgments, just understand this. If a company which has purchased another company back in 2021, acquisition is over, it is counted as a part of the company now. Suddenly, after 4 years, the Supreme Court of India saying, no, that was incorrect, and now you sell it. You simply, you liquidate it. Not even sell it. You liquidate it, close down the company. Can you imagine what it will do to the whole process of insolvency resolution? In future, if the company is put on sale, will anybody come forward to purchase it? What about the banks which have given loans to Jindal Steelworks for purchasing of this company? What about those banks which were able to recollect a certain amount after JSW purchased the Bhushan Steel? So can you imagine the complexity of the whole process now? Right? I hope you understand that the process is very complicated. It's not that easy. You can't simply say the whole process is invalid. Now liquidate the company. Right? It will create lot of ripples in the whole system. That is the reason there is a status quo. Status quo means whatever it is, let it be there at the same position. Whatever is there right now, let's maintain the same thing. That is status quo. Okay. Finally, couple of pointers. Right? I think two more articles are there. Just factual information. Supreme Court Collegium has recommended 3 judges for elevation to justices in Supreme Court. What is the basic argument here? Please understand important points. We have Supreme Court of India. Supreme Court of India has a sanctioned strength of 34 judges. Sanctioned strength, which means 33 justices plus 1 CJI. Whenever there is a vacancy, there is a process which has been established. We have Collegium system. What is a Collegium in case of this discussion? The Collegium of Supreme Court here will be, let's say, 1 Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most Supreme Court judges. So this Collegium will recommend something to the law ministry. Something means they will send recommendations of who should be elevated to become a justice of Supreme Court. So recommendation will be sent to law ministry. Law ministry, after conducting or vetting, etc., will give this forward this recommendation to the President of India. And because the President of India is the executive head, the announcement of elevation, appointment of Supreme Court judges is done by President of India. These are certain points that you need to remember. 34, the strength will fall down to 31 very soon. Right? It will come down to 31. And that is the reason you can see the Supreme Court Collegium has recommended 3 judges to be elevated to the top court. Okay, so these are important points. Next, a couple of more important points regarding universities. Until very recently, listen to me carefully now, until very recently, foreign universities were not allowed to open campuses in India. Campuses means, let's say a foreign university, such as Wharton University or Cambridge University, they can come to India and open, let's say a university. Campus is nothing but university in India in physical form. Until very recently, it was not allowed. But the government of India through UGC, University Grants Commission, has made changes in 2023. It has made changes in 2023. And according to these guidelines or the regulations of 2023, the top 500 universities, in the world now are allowed to come to India and open campus in India. Open campus in India. And I hope you understand the importance of such a news. Importance is, lot of times there will be a discussion regarding brain drain. Correct? Have you heard of the term brain drain? That is, certain people who are very intellectual. These people, because they cannot get higher quality education here, they will migrate to USA. They will go to UK. They will go to Germany. They will go to Australia for the purposes of education. And whenever they go to other countries, they look at the quality of lifestyle there, or a company is offering a better pay package there, they will settle, basically in that particular country. Or they'll migrate to another country which is a better developed country. This essentially will lead to a lot of intellectual flowing out of India. That is essentially brain drain. So in order to address this, what is one kind of reform that can be announced? Rather than going to universities abroad, why not allow these universities to open campus in India? Right? Instead of going outside India, they can open the campuses in India. And that is what is being done by Government of India now. As of now, listen to me, as of now, right, the Liverpool, University of Liverpool has announced that they will open campus in Bangalore. In addition to this, there are two more universities from Australia. They have opened campuses, or they have announced they will have presence openly. They have announced it. One more from United Kingdom, which has already announced. So, argument of the Government of India is in the pipeline in the next 1 year, 15 universities, 15, 1 5 foreign universities will be opening campuses in India. Better quality education will be made available within Indian market. Okay, last article for the day. Biennial elections to 8 Rajya Sabha seats in 2 states will be held on June 19th. A lot of information has been provided. Who is going to retire, right? How many states are there, etc. That is not relevant. That is not important. Don't memorize that. What are the essential points here? You have Lok Sabha, you have Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha, every 5 years, assuming the government will be there in the power, every 5 years, there will be dissolution of Lok Sabha. Elections are conducted for Lok Sabha. But Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body, meaning what? There is no dissolution of Rajya Sabha. But every 2 years, certain members of Rajya Sabha, they will be completing their tenure of 6 years and elections will be conducted. And that is exactly what is given in this article. Important only that particular point. Biennial elections, that is once every 2 years, biennial. Okay, biennial elections to 8 Rajya Sabha seats in 2 states will be held on June 19, and this will be conducted by Election Commission. Election Commission. Okay, so these are certain important points which are given. Beyond that, do not memorize how many states, how many seats, etc. from individual states. Now, the key answer, MCQ 111. Consider the following statements. The constitution has a provision requiring the GST council to meet once every quarter. Yes, I've already told you. Article 279A, subsection 8. Remember, this can be asked in the prelims. The GST council has representation from all the union territories. No, it has right representation from only those union territories which have legislature, not all the union territories. Right option for the question will be option A. MCQ 112. Consider the following statements regarding Anaemia Mukt Bharat program. The nodal authority is the Minister of Women and Child Development. I've already answered this. Incorrect, correct, and incorrect. Right option will be option A. Okay, so if you have any questions, any doubts regarding what I've discussed, please do let me know. I will address it to you. Nag Osari, I presume I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If not, accept my apologies. Nag Osari, basically the question was, what do you mean by Mukt? Mukt is basically Hindi term. Mukt means independent, right? Independent. That is the meaning of the term Mukt. Okay. Harshu, sir, why don't we prefer to give important mineral and vitamins through dietary practice instead of medication, my dear? That would require a lot of expenditure from the households. Lot of expenditure from the households. And I'm pretty sure all of you know this. A lot of population in India cannot provide for those kind of dietary consumptions. Okay. How corridor will help in establishment of democracy in Myanmar? Muskan, my dear, the object of corridor was not to establish democracy in Myanmar. The idea of corridor was to provide human aid, provide support to the population which is suffering in this region. Okay. Uh, Asha Rani, capital investment scheme will be regulated. My dear, who is going to regulate it? There is no question of regulation here. It's a scheme. It's a scheme where finance ministry will allocate funds, states will borrow and repay. That's it. Sifth, yes. What is the meaning of stay hungry, stay foolish? My dear, stay hungry, stay foolish is a very famous, right, a statement which basically means don't be worried about taking risk in life, right? Innovate, take risk, right? Nothing will matter. You might fail certain times, but just keep on trying. Right? Try out, right? Be very ambitious. Right? Don't be docile, be ambitious. Okay, done. Uh, Sir, for allowing foreign universities in India, that will lead to no brain drain rather than you going to foreign market, right? And study settle there only. Now the university is present in India. You can get the access to the same quality education in India. Okay. What about fortified rice? My dear, whenever you talk about fortified agriculture commodities, that is again done artificially. It is done artificially. That is after cultivation, fortification process is done. Okay. Done. So, last question I'll take. Kripal, if creditors are willing to take money with interest after some time, is this all right? Regarding what? I believe you're asking about IBC. My dear, if the application has been taken up, they can withdraw the application. They can withdraw the application. Okay, so that's it from my side. If you like this initiative, do hit the like button. If you're yet to join our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. I'll see you tomorrow again, sharp at 10 a.m. Have a great day.